Okay, so one of the things I'm doing here is, what was your name? Kyle still had some pencil marks on here. So I'm going to take off his pencil marks because once we glue it, do you think I'll be able to get in there and get that pencil line out of there? Once I glue it, it's going to be really tight, and if I use sandpaper, I'm going to end up scratching it. So I'm going to try and take those off first. He also has them on the back side of here. So he didn't know I was going to be using his project, so I'm going to help him out a little bit. All right, so we're going to glue this together. We're going to clamp it, and it's really important. I can't tell you how many people I've seen that have gotten their helicopter this far and everything looks pretty and they're all proud of it and they want to do the happy dance, and they come over here and they glue it just like that.
Pretty messy.
Yeah, what happens?
They put it on backwards.
They put it on there upside down, and so then they glue it, and then they're looking at it and they're like, oh, I can just sand that out. So they end up sanding it out, and then it kind of looks like a penguin that drank too much. And or what are those things, the bowling pins you run down there? So anyway, we're going to try and make sure it ends up the correct way. So we're going to make sure it's labeled there correctly ahead of time. So I put it at the right spot, and then I'm going to split it like an egg, and now I'm going to mark where I'm going to glue. So hopefully I have a pencil here. I'm going to draw an up arrow and an up arrow, and if I really wanted to, I could do a left and a right side, but this way I'm helping myself just a little bit. If you do, put the glue on the wrong side. So I put glue on this side, and then I'm like, oh, no, I can't do that. What do you think you can do? If I put it on the other side, do you think it'll match up exactly? It should, but it might not. So I don't know if it will on his. We could check it. The good news is you can take this over to the sink and all that glue will just wash right off. All this glue is water soluble, so you can just run it under the faucet, wipe all the glue off, let it dry, and you're good to go again. So you don't have to stress it. Once it's glued though, you are screwed. It won't come back out. You can see what happened here. This kid did their helicopter, and what do you think happened on the far side? She was putting hers on the other side, and she realized it still had some marks on it that had bandsaw marks in it, and so she didn't want to put it on right away, so she just glued half of it. Not a problem. She saved herself, because if she would have put that on, then she wouldn't be able to mess with it after that. So that's another way to do it, is just go part way with your project. Okay, so what clamps are we going to use? You can see there's a whole bunch of clamps out here, and they've been used on different people's projects. This one is really important. I'll get to it later, but what do you see right there? There's a little gap, just like between my teeth there. And then what do you notice on the back side? A little gap. So what you want to do before you even start, you're going to come over here and you're going to check and see if there's any gaps on your project. So I'm going to squeeze his together. What do we see right at the front? See those black little shadows in there? Gaps. So we're going to swap this like this, and we're going to check that again. Okay, so we're going to open this back up. We're at the right place. And I started talking about clamps a little bit before. I could use a clamp like this. What's it called?
C-clamp.
C-clamp. And if I open it up and I squeeze it down, what do you think might go wrong? Okay, I could use this kind of clamp, but what might go wrong with these kind of clamps?
You can slip.
It'll do mark.
Oh, good call. So it's metal, and that metal has dried glue on it. So when I press this really tight into the side of my helicopter, it's going to make that perfect impression of dried glue, and it's going to screw it up for me. So we don't want to use those. We're going to use these, what were they called?
Parallel.
Parallel, or for brownie points, Jorgensen clamps. So we're going to get it ready ahead of time. Notice how this one is slightly angled. You see how it's doing the pigeon toe thing there? So if that's doing the pigeon toe, what would happen, you think, if I tried to clamp this? Let's just do a demonstration. How about that? What's going to happen if I clamp it right there?
Not all of it will glue down.
Yep, that's exactly right. So I need to make sure that it's parallel before I clamp it. So I want to get these exactly set up so that I'm almost ready to clamp it right then. So now that I have the same size as that, I'm ready to clamp. I have seen a lot of people come over here and they get one. Let's just do one of these here. What would happen if I clamped on just like that? The plan. Do you guys see what happens to my helicopter when I clamp like that?
Yeah.
What happens?
And then line up.
What happens to the bottom?
Oh, it does.
Yes, exactly. Can you make that sound again? Exactly. Do you hear that? And it'll make that sound when you do it, and you're gonna be like, there's a penguin trapped in there. So make sure you don't do it like that, because you're not gonna get glued correctly. All right, so now that I've got it set up, I'm gonna put some glue in here. Notice how I tilt this over ahead of time? Why did I tilt this over ahead of time?
So then the glue will come down.
That's right, the glue's ready to go right now. Great, I actually knocked it over not on purpose, but whatever. So we're gonna put a little bit of glue on this up arrow. Notice I'm not putting a whole bunch of glue. What's gonna happen if I do a whole bunch of glue? It's gonna go that. So this brings out the creativity in some people, and it brings out the sickness in other people. You're gonna take your finger, and you remember how you used to make those little fingerprints and leave them around on tables to scare people? Okay, you're weird. Anyway, so you're gonna get your glue and you're gonna move it around on your piece. If you wanna use a piece of scrap wood to do that, you can, but what we really want is full coverage. So you're gonna get glue all the way to the outside. What do you think would happen if we just put a dab of glue right in the middle and then glued this together?
It'll be
Like
fast.
yours is like kind of spread out maybe, and like
Yeah.
on the outside.
Some places would squeeze out, some places would not. And you wouldn't get full coverage. So we're gonna cover it just like this. You're gonna be left with glue on your finger.
Just flick it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I really don't want you to do is get distracted and then you start talking to somebody and it's like, oh, that worked. Well, oh, you can fix that. And the worst one is on the side of the table. And you put it on the side of the table and then you're working here a little bit and then it's like, hey, nice job. Look at that. It worked. I should have had him do that more. Okay, see about how much glue I have? I'm going to get a little bit squeezed out, but not too much, which is what I want. But we don't have to worry about much of the glue. All this stuff up here, we're going to sand off. It's only the stuff that's going to be right in the back above the hips of this. All right, now that he's gone, we can screw his project up. So we're going to line it back up. This glue has about 10 minutes before it's going to start setting up. But once I put pressure on it, how long is it going to have?
10 seconds.
Like a lot less. Heat and pressure makes heat, and when you get the heat in there with the glue, you're going to get about 2 minutes to move it around, unless you got a lot more glue. So we're going to wait for a few minutes so that he gets really scared. All right, so what would happen, you guys can put your thinking caps on here, what would happen if I put it exactly in the right place to start with and pushed in?
You're gonna not put it in the right spot.
Come on, why not?
Is it gonna slide?
It's going to slide. Give me 5. Okay, so I'm going to put it on here, and if I put it right in the right spot and then squeeze, it's going to do the whole shimmy shake thing, and it's not going to end up, and I'm going to get glue all where I don't want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it down here, and then I'm going to slowly slide it up to the right spot. So that way you don't get glue that squeezes out up here. So we're going to do the same thing here, and then we're going to make sure that I'm on the right sides too.
So you know, problem.
Oh, shucks, yours turned out okay. All right, so I'm going to get it about in the right spot. Is this about in the right spot?
No.
See how it's hanging down below? That's cool. I like that, because if I start to clamp it, what's going to happen?
Slide.
It's going to slide. So I want to get all the extra glue out of there ahead of time. So I'm going to put this on here, and I'm going to clamp right here, and I'm going to squeeze really hard. And all that extra glue is coming out. Now I've got pressure on it. How long before his project's screwed up?
2.
About 2 minutes. So we're going to take this back apart now, and now we're going to try and move one of these to the right spot. Oh, sorry. Anybody else want to try theirs next? That didn't work so well. No, I'm kidding. So it is actually really tight though. So we're going to move it over to just about the right spot. And now the most important part. We need to get your hips lined up. Isn't it funny how half the class starts dancing when I say that? All right, so once I get this about right, I need to make sure these hips are lined up. If they're not lined up, it looks like your helicopter's jogging, and you walk up and you're like, well, that's a little different. So I'm going to get it lined up so these are square on the back. Okay. And now that I have it there, now we can clamp it for reals. So I'm going to put it right here, and I'm going to put this clamp. I'm going to chase that around for a little bit. And I'm going to put just a little pressure right here. What would happen if I put a lot of pressure right here? So the back will squeeze out, which will suck. So we're going to put one on the back, and now we're going to clamp a little bit right here. And now that we've got a little pressure here, now we're going to go back, put a little pressure here. And notice how all these helicopters kind of look the same with one up and one in like that. Notice how I didn't do it covering the back. So I should have messed up on his, I didn't. I should have messed up and squeezed a whole bunch of glue out the back so you could see what happens. But if you put too much glue on here, it'll squirt out glue right here. Do you know how hard that is to clean out that glue after it's dried?
Very.
Very hard. So he got this nice paper towel, and I'm going to use it since it's here. But usually what happens is a whole bunch of glue squeezes out in that little crotch area right there. And you're going to take a wet paper towel, and you're just going to rub it back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until you get all that glue out. And if there's any residual glue left in there, what's going to happen is it's going to dry, and then you're going to stain it later. And is the stain going to go through the glue?
No.
No. And you're going to see this nice, beautiful helicopter with this weird yellow line right there. And you're going to be like, I think I'll pick up a different one. This can't be mine. So make sure that you get all that glue. That's the most important part besides your hips being square and no gaps. All right, now that I've done this, I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to put my name on here. Because what's going to happen is your friend's going to come over and go, oh, that's a nice one. I'll take that one. And the good news is we have a camera right there. So we've caught a few wonderful people. But I'm going to put, is it Kyle? Kyle on here. So we're going to put Kyle on here. And now we've got a few minutes to wait. So anybody want to talk about anything else for a while? How long did I say we got?
I have like 30. Yeah, you
That's a good question. Should we wipe off the glue that's on the front of it? So we got glue that's all squeezing out right here.
You're gonna sand it.
We're going to sand it later. How long would it take to sand versus to wipe it up with this? Nope, sander's going to definitely take longer. So if I cared about it, which that's not my project, but feel free if you'd like to. Kyle can come up, and I would. If it was my project, I would do that. The other thing I wanted to cover, though, was while it is being pressed, you've got about, we could take it off in like 3 minutes, and we could probably start working on it. But we want to let that glue dry completely. We want to let it cure. So I would say at least 15 minutes. Okay, so if you have a block period, you got plenty of time to work on it, glue it, and then come back and take it apart. So I would say at least 15 minutes to leave it there. I would say if we took this apart right now, none of us could bust that open. It'd be so cured already that we couldn't even split this. But since it's Kyle's project, I don't want to unintentionally mess it up or intentionally mess it up. So we're going to leave it be.
I could probably break it.
Questions on this? Okay, there's a lot of information we covered, a lot of stuff that you might or not be comfortable with. The biggest 3 points: check it ahead of time, make sure there's no gaps. When you clamp it, make sure your hips are lined up. And the third thing, make sure there's no glue. Make sure there's no glue left in that area. So those 3 things are critical. I've already found one over here with a gap in it. It only takes a few seconds to check that gap ahead of time and make sure it's not there. Okay, so if you're not sure, please check with your instructor on that, because this is the one big place. Once you glue this up, it doesn't come back apart unless you take it over the bandsaw and you have to hack it off and then sand down. So it's kind of a done deal. This can really make or break your project right here. So please do it right. Good times? Everybody good? All right.
Go Ducks.
1, 2, 3, break.